Ever find yourself reacting intensely to something small and not fully sure why? That's usually a trigger, and understanding it is the first step toward taking back control. In this video, we're exploring how to identify your emotional triggers and reframe your reactions so you can respond with clarity instead of spiraling into old patterns. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more grounded tools to help you build self-awareness, emotional control, and deeper resilience. Let's get into the work of knowing your patterns and changing them, starting right now. 1. Identify your emotional triggers with awareness. The first step to managing your reactions is understanding what triggers them. Triggers are emotional landmines, specific words, situations, tones, or people that cause a strong emotional reaction, often disproportionate to the present moment. These are usually tied to past unresolved experiences. To uncover them, reflect on moments when your emotional response felt too intense or automatic. What was said? Who was involved? How did you feel physically and emotionally? Write these down. Awareness breaks the cycle of unconscious reaction and gives you space to choose a different response next time. Without this step, you'll continue reacting without understanding why. Think of identifying your triggers as collecting a roadmap of your emotional landscape. 2. Track patterns in your reactions. After identifying emotional triggers, observe how you typically respond. Do you lash out, shut down, people please, or distract yourself? These reaction patterns often become habits formed from years of repetition. Journaling helps immensely here. Track your emotional flare-ups, what happened, how you reacted, and what you were thinking. Look for repeating situations. Maybe you get anxious when criticized or angry when ignored. Recognizing these patterns shows you where you're giving away your power. It helps you predict your responses before they happen and allows you to choose a healthier alternative. Think of it as collecting behavioral data on yourself. 3. Connect triggers to past experiences. Many emotional triggers stem from unresolved experiences, especially those rooted in childhood or past trauma. For example, if being dismissed in conversation enrages you, it might reflect an earlier experience of not being heard or validated. This past pain creates sensitivity in the present. By connecting your triggers to past roots, you shift from reacting blindly to responding with compassion. Try asking yourself, when have I felt this way before? Or, what does this moment remind me of emotionally? This awareness doesn't excuse unhelpful behavior, but it explains it. And with understanding comes the power to change. 4. Separate fact from emotional interpretation. When you're triggered, your mind often rushes to interpret the event, usually based on fear or past pain. Someone not texting back becomes, they don't care about me. A mistake at work becomes, I'm incompetent. These are interpretations, not facts. Learning to separate what actually happened from the story you're telling yourself is essential. This is the essence of cognitive reframing. Ask yourself, what are the facts here? What assumptions am I making? Practicing this shift calms emotional intensity and offers space for a more balanced view. Instead of spiraling into negative self-talk or blame, you start to see options and perspectives. 5. Use the name it to tame it strategy. When emotions feel overwhelming, naming them helps regulate them. This strategy, coined by psychologist Dan Siegel, is simple yet powerful. When you name what you're feeling, your brain shifts from the emotional centers, amygdala, to logical centers, prefrontal cortex. The act of naming creates psychological distance from the emotion. For example, instead of saying I'm angry, you say I notice anger arising. This subtle shift turns you into the observer rather than the emotion itself. Use specific language, not just bad, but disappointed, hurt, or overwhelmed. The more accurately you label the emotion, the more control you gain over it. 6. Practice the power of the pause. Between trigger and reaction lies a powerful gap, your moment of choice. The problem is, most people react so quickly they skip the pause entirely. Practicing the pause is a key emotional regulation skill. When you feel triggered, train yourself to stop, breathe, and create space, even just 10 seconds. That pause interrupts your reactive loop and activates your conscious brain. You might say silently, "I'm feeling triggered. Let me pause." It gives you time to assess the situation, recall your tools, and decide how you want to respond, rather than letting emotion drive you. 7. Reframe the story you're telling yourself. Reframing involves changing the lens through which you see a situation. Your emotional reaction often stems not from the event itself, but from the meaning you assign to it. For example, if someone criticizes you, your reaction might depend on whether you frame it as, "They're attacking me," versus "They're offering feedback." Start by catching your inner dialogue. Is it catastrophizing, black and white thinking, or self-blame? Then reframe. What's another way to see this? What might I say to a friend in this situation? This doesn't mean ignoring real harm, but choosing a response that empowers you. 8. Strengthen your emotional vocabulary. One reason people struggle with triggers is they lack the words to describe what they feel. Saying, "I'm mad," isn't the same as saying, "I feel betrayed," or "I feel unappreciated." Broadening your emotional vocabulary gives you clarity and self-awareness. Use tools like emotion wheels or journaling prompts to explore more precise words. Emotional granularity, the ability to pinpoint emotions accurately, has been linked to better regulation and mental health. When you name it well, you can manage it well. It also improves communication with others, reducing misunderstandings during conflict. 9. Create a go-to response plan for triggers. Knowing your triggers is powerful, but having a plan to deal with them is essential. Create a go-to strategy for when you feel triggered. It could include pausing, breathing deeply, walking away temporarily, or using a calming phrase like, "I'm safe, this is just a moment." Write out your plan ahead of time and keep it visible on your phone, a sticky note, or in your journal. When you're emotionally charged, you won't have to think. You'll already have a roadmap. This reduces panic and builds confidence. 10. Reflect, learn, and celebrate growth. Every time you manage a trigger skillfully, reflect on it. Ask yourself, what did I notice? What worked? What can I try next time? Reflection transforms experiences into growth. Keep a journal or notes app to track progress. Even when things go wrong, don't beat yourself up. Review it with curiosity, not criticism. Emotional regulation is a lifelong practice, not a perfection contest. Also, celebrate your wins. Those moments you stayed calm, paused, or rephrased your thoughts. Each small success rewires your brain and builds confidence. Over time, your reactions become less automatic and more intentional. All right, that's a wrap on understanding your triggers and reframing your reactions, because awareness is the first step to real emotional freedom. Take a deep breath, show yourself compassion, and remember, you're not your triggers. You're the one learning how to work with them. If this helped you see your emotional patterns more clearly, give it a thumbs up and share one insight or shift you're taking away in the comments. And if you're here for more honest, practical tools to build emotional strength and deeper self-awareness, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss what's next. Catch you in the next one.